What's up, everybody? Coming to you a little bit later than we normally do here on this episode, this edition of our live, and I think we all had a long night last night, so I think everybody kind of gets a pass. But we've been up for a long time, and we got a lot to talk about. Won't be on as long this morning, but just wanted to come to everybody because a lot happened last night. Uh, was there an election or something going on? Because I was watching the playoff rankings, Randy. I don't know anything about. Oh yeah, that's right. There was a presidential election last night, so we'll talk about that a little bit. We will talk about Auburn basketball. They have a game tonight against Vermont in Neville Arena, so that place will be rabid, I'm sure. And then the playoff rankings did come out last night as well. So good to see you this morning, buddy.
Glad to be here. It's a wonderful day for small business owner here in the beautiful state of Alabama. Donald Trump winning this state 70-30 yesterday, and you can say, well, how much is this going to help or hurt? Wherever you stand in life, all I can tell you is you look at the stock market this morning, Brett Pritchard, and the business world's exceptionally happy about what went down last night, and we're hopeful. To be honest, since COVID and since the new regime came in from a business ownership standpoint, I talk and hear about it on a daily basis. It's a grind, to say the least. If you're working exceptionally hard, the only thing you can do is hold on the last few years. So I think everybody's hoping for a little light at the end of the tunnel. I can assure you I am. Interest rates come down, inflation comes down, and we get some things turned around from the business standpoint here in state of Alabama and here in the United States.
Well, I think I'm going to take another angle on that because I mean, Alabama never was in doubt. It never is anymore. What color this state is. Um, I think the mainstream media needs to take notice that people are tired of the hate rhetoric. They're tired of being labeled. They're tired of being pigeonholed into uh, you know being told who they are because they know who they are, and the extremism. And I think once again, uh, just like in 2016, people rose up and this wasn't a back end of the president's seat. He didn't backdoor this thing. He's going to win the popular vote. He's going to win the electoral college probably by a landslide by the time they get finished counting all these votes. By the way, everybody needs to model Florida, right? Florida just counted their votes 3 times last night for fun, waiting on everybody else to get theirs in. They got theirs done so fast. Um, there's a lot of lessons to be learned in this thing, and it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. We're all Americans, and I'm sick of the mainstream media. I think the mainstream media found out too that a lot more people are taking note of what they say and are paying attention to their agenda. They're making their own decisions based off research and other outlets like the one that we're on right here. I don't have to turn on NBC or CBS or MSNBC or Fox News or anything. I can make my own decisions based on what's going on with my household. And I don't need to be told what I am when I know who I am. So, will they learn from that? Immediately after the election was called last night, they went right back to hate monger speech and how the dollar was going to collapse and how it's doom and gloom and democracy's up for it's up for debate and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, look, just keep going down that road and see where it gets you. But this was a statement last night across the board, across multiple demographics. People are tired of the direction of the country, and 2020, I don't care what anybody says, it makes it even more apparent now that there was maybe something not right about that election, because you don't go from 2016 to now and have the wins that he had, and then sandwich in the middle a guy that really don't know what planet he's on. So that's the only part I'll say about it. But it was a big night, and I think it was a win for the country. I really do.
Well, the most important thing I saw last night was black male vote doubled. It's at one of its all-time highs for the Republican Party. Hispanic vote major swing, not necessarily getting the Hispanic vote, but I think it was a 15-point difference between last night and the previous election when it comes to that. So, for those of us that were wondering if the nation was turning blue and going to stay blue, and those of us that live like in the state of Alabama where it looks like it's going to be 70 to 30 all the time, we're just outsiders looking in. Last night with the new day and age and the media operation, and the opportunities to tune in to Joe Rogan and my gosh, tip your hat to Elon Musk for purchasing Twitter and changing the social media dynamic out there. There's no telling how big of a deal that was overall. It's probably impossible to put a number on how much of a change that was, but giving everybody an opportunity to do what we're doing here. And look, if you don't agree with what's about to come out of mine and your mouth, look, I've been in the business world and in leadership roles for a long time. I can deal with it. Not everybody's going to like you, and not everybody's going to agree with you, but it's very important in the United States, which is the beacon of hope out there in this world, that whatever you think, as long as you're not hurting your fellow man, you can say and you can have an opinion, and not everybody has to agree with it. And I think that was on the ballot last night. And when you look at the numbers that came in, it was a resounding yes for the regime, not only Donald Trump, but those that he's gotten leadership roles to come in, along with Elon Musk and Robert Kennedy Jr., who I've grown to love. I mean, there's a number of people that were Democrats that are some of my favorite politicians in the world now. And maybe that's more of an indictment on the Democratic standpoint than the Republicans and the change that you're seeing there.
Well, what happened? What you saw last night was a confirmation of a shift in parties. The Democratic Party forever was the party of middle class, working class people, and they still try to push that narrative all while they parade Hollywood elites and big donors and things like that. The Republican Party has now become the party of the working class and the party of diversity. And outside of a few pockets in this country, that map was red. And this wasn't just about the presidency. The presidency. It was about the House and the Senate now going back to that direction as well. And so this was a massive statement. It was a sweep of epic proportions across both chambers in the legislature, the president's seat, and now the popular vote. Not just the electoral vote, but the popular vote. So, you can spin it however you want to spin it. You can, when we lose a football game, it sucks. You can do one or two things. You can blame officials. You can blame everybody but you for why you lost it, or you can go back to work and figure out how to fix the things that you didn't do well, and get back in a win column. And I think that's what the Democrats have to do. Look, there's great Democrats, there's great Republicans. You have extremists on both sides, but I think majority of us are closer to the center, and we don't just agree with everything a Republican says, and we don't just agree with everything a Democrat says. We have a brain. We want to think for ourselves, and so and we need to quit pointing the finger. Hey, look, I didn't vote for Barack Obama, but he was my president for 8 years, and I supported him. You know, and on the flip side, Donald Trump's been, they've attempted to kill him twice. They've tried to arrest him. They put him through a bazillion lawsuits. I mean, they've persecuted this man every which way but Sunday, according in quoting Chuck Schumer there, by the way. And again, this guy just rises up. He rises up because the people rise up behind him. He can't do it by himself. So that's where we are in this country. And quit pointing fingers at people and labeling them a hateful rhetoric because they support somebody that you don't. So that's going to be our take on that. We'll move on, but there's going to be a lot more coming out on that. Auburn's got a basketball game tonight. Randy, Vermont comes in. They just beat UAB a few nights ago. It's a pretty good basketball team. So it'll be a good test for Auburn heading into Saturday's game against Houston, which is going to be a massive, massive basketball game.
Well, the win that Vermont had the other night over a good UAB program led by a very good coach in Andy Kennedy. tells me that tonight could be an interesting game. You and I both will be there. I'm looking forward to it. Have my kids and the whole family there as we do every Saturday. You know, one thing I looked down in the topics that we're talking about today, I was going to say, thank the Lord I don't see Auburn football down there. Give me a little positive Auburn talk, and Auburn basketball right now, very positive. Two things I'll be looking for tonight, with hopes to see him much more. But two things I'll be looking to see what the Auburn's going to do in the point guard position, who gets most of the minutes, and secondly, Miles Kelly from the perimeter. Can he be an assassin shooting the ball from the perimeter that changes the dynamic of his team when it comes to shooting outside? He's been a little up and down at his previous stops. I think he shot 38% from three, which we would take going away right now, down to 32% last year. So need him to be really, really good from behind the arc and the rest of this team to be really good. If Auburn can get top-notch guard play, Brett, I mean, well above average guard play, Auburn's going to have a chance to win just about every basketball game they're in this year.
Yeah, it's not a secret. I think basketball is like football. You have a good point guard, you got a chance to go places if you have pieces around him. If you don't, you're going to struggle. You got to have somebody that can deliver the basketball, control the floor. I think we're all excited to see if the point guard play will improve this year. They definitely have the potential to do that. On the flip side, defensively, I think this team will be as good as any Auburn's put on the floor. Yeah, looking forward to the game tonight. Not much more than that. We'll know a lot more after tonight. We'll be able to evaluate that tomorrow when we get on our live in the morning. To close it out real quick, playoff rankings did come out. They did get overshadowed last night, believe it or not. Wasn't a good night to release that as far as popularity, but people did talk about it a little bit, but it did get buried in all the election talk. But the Oregon Ducks come in, the very first ever or the inaugural playoff rankings. The Ducks are sitting there at number one. Ohio State comes in at 2, Georgia 3, Miami comes in at 4. That's the one I point to. That's a Miami team that, without Cam Ward's not in this list. It could be an Auburn team with a Cam Ward that would be on this list, but we'll never know. Texas at 5, Penn State 6, Tennessee 7, Indiana 8, BYU 9, Notre Dame 10, Alabama 11, and Boise State 12. If this thing's set up the way it is right now, if it ended this way, it would have a first round matchup of Texas and Alabama, with Texas hosting that game, being the 5 seed. That's how that matchup would lay out. And the 4 byes obviously would be Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, and Miami.
Well, the great thing about college football this year, I think there's a lot of parity. When you reel off those lists, I don't look at any team and say, man, Georgia's going to have to play terrible this year to not win this thing. I don't see that at all. I told you that on Auburn Blitz yesterday. Auburn and anybody that loses to Georgia lost an opportunity this year because their quarterback play has taken such a drastic step back. But we didn't take advantage, and Florida this past weekend had some opportunities. They didn't take advantage. So I don't look at any team and expect that. It's a huge game this weekend for Alabama. I'll say that. On the road at LSU, can they win? If I had to pick that one just, right down the middle, right now I'd take LSU at home. I just think that this Alabama team's got a lot of question marks. Going to be a fun playoff run, though. I think that it is fun going into this first year where I think 5 or 6 of these teams could win a national championship. After the 5 or 6, I don't believe that. But I do think there's 5 or 6 teams that are as good as everybody else.
Yeah, I agree. Again, that's just the first preliminary ranking. Got a lot of football left to go, and some of these teams will drop out, and some of them will move up, some of them will move down. It's going to be fun. I'm glad we're at the 12 teams. I'm glad to look down and see Boise State's got potentially the Heisman Trophy winner in it, because if we still had a 4-team playoff, they wouldn't be in the talk. What about Indiana? I mean, that's a story in itself. Can they stay where they are? They got a couple tough football games left. Can they run the table and go undefeated? Penn State's there, but that was not a good win, not a good loss for them losing to Ohio State. They only dropped a few spots because they did lose to a very good football team, but they've got to play for pretty much perfect football from here on out because there's some teams on the outside trying to get into this top 12 that a few of these slip up. Tennessee, Alabama, um, any of those type teams, one more loss and they're probably out. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting.
Tune in today. Again, Auburn Blitz on from 12 to 1. You see behind me, Brett, wide open here in Dable. Screen printing or embroidery, custom apparel for your business, school, or team. Give us a call down here. And signs of all kind, from the start of the process, designing a sign, to installing it. Sign Source can handle it all. So Lee Apparel and Sign Source, give us a call, 256-825-0197.
All right. Appreciate it, everybody. Everybody have a great day.